You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table, the podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Drew Del Pree.
What's up? I don't know why this stupid restream keeps doing that every time we come back on whatever. Anyway, what's up, fellas?
Nothing much. How's it going?
So we got two
I was gonna say
wonderfully awesome people.
Awesome
Who,
people.
all right, who's got their volume up?
Who's got their volume up?
Getting some feedback here.
Might be me. Let me turn it down.
All right. Yeah. Way to go, pal. Come in here and just screw everything up.
I know. Everything up. Damn E6.
All right.
Huh?
All right. Here
Is
we
that
go.
better?
All right. I think we're better. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a couple folks I'd like to introduce you to. We've got well, let's just go with the fun stuff first. The 420 Chief, Mr. Ryan. What's happening, brother?
Happy Friday. Friday.
Yeah, Friday. All right. I like the way you think, pal. And of course, our esteemed guest for this evening, Luis Fonseca. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
awesome.
It's going really good right about now.
Welcome,
on.
fellas. No, it's great to have everybody on. It's great to have a packed house and get to talk to one of America's heroes. I know you get to talk to me every week, but we're gonna talk to another one.
Well, you know
we'll bring him in a moment. Enough about me.
You say we get to talk to you. That's really not true because most times we can't get a word in.
Oh, fair comment. I'll take it. That's fair.
It's facts. There we go with the facts again, right? Talking about facts and egos earlier. But anyway, hey, Luis, man, for those that don't know you, and we'll go to the hero part later because I really want to pick your brain on that. But you were the recipient of our nation's second highest award, being the Navy Cross,
Yes.
for incredibly heroic deeds, saving the lives of our brother Marines. I'm super excited to talk to you, man. I'm sure we know a lot of the same people, but you and I never actually served together.
Right.
But I was a West Coast guy as well until I crossed over to the. We won't talk about that. But anyway, give everybody a little bit of background about you. You know where you grew up before you even joined the Navy.
Yeah. So, little interesting fact of me growing up. So my dad immigrated to the United States when he was 16, and then it ended up joining the United States Army after he had seen a commercial for the Army talking about back in the when he joined the Hawk Air Missile Defense System, working on radars. And he was like, well, I can do that. And so he joined the Army, and Dad got stationed in Frankfurt, Germany. Not actually Frankfurt. I think it was like Munich, Germany. And I was born in Germany in 1980. And the fun fact about that is back then there was a law that stated if any child was born to a U.S. service member abroad, one of his or her parents had to have been, if they're not a natural citizen, have to have been a citizen for a minimum of 10 years for that child to be born a U.S. citizen. Since neither one of my parents had citizenship for a minimum of 10 years, I was actually born a German citizen, and I had dual citizenship, German and Mexican citizenship, up until I was 8 years old when my dad was going to get stationed back to Germany. And it came to a point where like you're going to have to lose your I'm assuming I was a resident at the time, and so it was just easier for them to make me a U.S. citizen. And so it wasn't until, and I just found this out recently myself when I was going to join the Navy, and then after digging after a while too. I didn't become a U.S. citizen until I was 8. And so then after that, like I said, Dad went back to Germany, and then we got stationed in North Carolina when I was 11. And that's where I call home. I consider myself a Carolina boy at heart. Even though I stayed here in California after retirement, I miss the East Coast. I miss the Smoky Mountains. I miss Grandfather Mountain out there. So yeah, so I joined the Navy out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, as a high school dropout with really no direction in my life. Just a lot of dead end streets. Getting involved with the wrong crowd, with the stupid people, and a few days after my 18th birthday, I knew I had to get out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I ran to the recruiting office. And where I was recruited from was a recruiting complex. So we had all the branches there, minus the Coast Guard. And so I actually walked into the Marine Corps recruiter. Being an Army brat, I didn't know what a Navy corpsman was. So I didn't want to go into the Army like my dad did. So I wanted to go into the Marine Corps. And so I told the Marine recruiter I want to be a medic. And he's like, well, we don't have those. And, I'm scratching my head like, how do y'all go to the field or like to war with no like I understand the Marines are badass, but come on now, not that badass.
Right.
Right.
Who's providing adult supervision?
Right. And so he gave me a few pamphlets, somebody to look over some. And even though I was a high school dropout, I had scored a 54, which I guess back then, even now, it's a pretty high score. So as I was walking out, the Navy recruiter was standing outside with his buddy smoking a cigarette. And my Navy recruiter was actually a CB. And asked me, he goes, hey, what did that Marine recruiter offer you? And I basically told him the story. And he goes, if I can make you, and I'm pretty sure he said hospital corpsman or corpsman at that time, because if I can make you a corpsman and serve with the Marines, would you enlist right now? And like I said, I had no idea what a hospital corpsman was.
Yeah.
I had no clue that the Marine Corps fell under the Department of the Navy. And so I listened to him, and I gave him my time, and he pulled up my scores, and he said, yeah, we can definitely get you going. It's going to be he goes, even though you're technically a high school dropout, he goes, you're a senior. He goes, I can't get you till June. You can't leave till June anyways. He goes, just do me a favor. Try to get your GED from now until then, and you can keep your college bonus. I had like a $50,000 college bonus, but dumb punk ass kid Luis Fonseca is like, I already got a contract. Why do I need a high school education? I'm good. So I kept on partying for the last 6 months before I shipped off. And yes, I ended up in the world's finest Navy, as we say, right?
Wow, man. Yeah. I joined the Navy and wanted to be a sailor. And the next thing I knew, I was with the Marines, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And then I stayed with them for the next 14 years,
Yeah.
And hindsight being what it is, I wouldn't, if I could have stayed my whole career at Greenside, I would have, but best part of my career, hands down.
Absolutely. I mean, the shit you get to do as a young man or even as a young woman, right? I mean, there's vehicles that I've driven, tanks, AVs, things that I've shot, weapons that people pay thousands of dollars to go to some fancy range in Las Vegas to shoot. I got to shoot it for years. Those are the cool stories that when life sucks, you're out in the field, everyone's feeling the shit. When we're all old and look back, we're like, man, you know what? I actually have some pretty fucking cool stories, man. I actually blew up some pretty cool shit.
Yeah, man. Good times. I'm just glad you can remember yours. I fucking drank most of my memories away, man. But
Most
do?
of my memories are secondhand accounts.
Yeah. What's that, Luis?
Most of my memories are secondhand accounts.
Yeah, fair enough. I got a year or two on you, man. So fortunately, thank God, social media wasn't around when I was a fucking young sailor, man. Because I'm not sure where I'd be. I might still be in the brig at this point. Who knows? I'm proud of all my good conduct medals because I didn't get caught.
Yeah.
Sure as hell don't deserve them all. I'll tell you that.
Well, I tell
Guaranteed.
people I'm the proudest of my good conduct medals because they were the hardest ones to earn.
You're damn right. Damn right. So you came in, you went to Corpsman A school, and then you went to FMTB. Is that what the kids are calling it nowadays?
Yeah, nowadays. Yeah, back then it was FMSS. So yeah, and I went over to Camp Johnson, Camp Lejeune. So
right,
that's a huge
Camp
Johnson.
Yeah,
What year?
Point Marines.
What year did you go to Johnson?
In 2000. So I went to Navy boot camp July of '99. I graduated was July, August, September-ish, and then went to A school right across the street, and we're the last technically graduating class of 99, but we graduated like mid-January of 2000, and we classed up for FMSS in March or April of 2000, around that time frame.
Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. I went in 91.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying damn you're old. But
Right.
so from FMTB or FMSS, whatever your choice is, where did you go to a Greenside unit immediately, or did you go to like a hospital?
No. So yeah, I went straight to 2nd Marine Division, and straight to 2nd Amphibious Assault Battalion. And I'm not gonna bullshit. The reason when we were at what was it called back then? PSD, right? Where where you went and then they chopped you over to wherever you were going. When we were there, the YNC was like, "Hey, we have these open, battalions, depending on your grad or some. I don't know how they did it, but they were like, you can try to pick an Astro battalion. Whoever wants to deploy like next week, we have a unit leaving, and there was some guys that did."
Yeah.
Well, I'm all of 5'4". At that time, I weighed all of 125, 130 pounds, soaking wet, holding bricks.
I knew I liked this guy.
Nowadays, an 8-mile hike is no biggie for me. But when I first joined, it was killer. So I'm not gonna lie. When I saw AAVs or a mobile battalion that was open, that's what I put on there. And I was very fortunate that I got to go to AAVs.
Then you realized how much they break down and how much your ass was walking anyway.
I was in that FIB CB group for a long time, an assault craft unit, and they took our PT very serious. So like when it was our time for our PFAs, that was like the easiest workworkouts we ever did. Other than that, we were rucksacking or we were getting trails somewhere, just getting intense.
Gotcha.
But hey, Ryan, which ACU unit were you with?
With 2 out in Little Creek.
Oh yeah, when were you there?
Oh my gosh, 2003 to 2006.
Because I was at BMU 2,
Okay.
2005 to 2008.
Yeah, we crossed over. I was there when they were building up that new PSD inside the gate there.
Oh yeah, nice.
Hey, Luis. So you come from, you have this Army, sort of background growing up a little bit. You get to see, you join, you get to the Marine Corps, choosing orders to the Marines, the corpsman, right where the action's at, sort of looking at different units, right? Looking at the artillery, the AAVs, this sort of like, this aggressive, honor, duty first type mentality. Why do you hate the Air Force?
The Air Force.
I
do hate 810 Warhawk pilots, though.
Yeah, please no. Hey, I want to hear about that. Why is that?
So, and I know we'll get into a little bit more, but on March 23rd of 2003, if you read the actual reports, so we ended up losing 18 Marines in one firefight, in one battle. And we'll go, like I said, I'm sure we'll go into more depth in a little bit later. But on that day, official reports will say that the 810 Warhawk killed 1 service member, but could have killed up to 17.
Sure.
Now, when you're on the ground and you see, right, the freaking, I don't know exactly what, besides the big gun, what missiles or rockets they launch, but when you see that launch from a helo, and I mean, everyone has seen the picture of the AAV online that's fully engulfed in flames in the middle of the road. That was hit by that 810 Warhawk. It wasn't hit by an RPG. Funny thing that you mentioned, well, not funny like haha, but ironically that you mentioned that is, very recently a staff sergeant was just awarded his Silver Star. And in his citation, they actually stated there's the first time, I guess, the Navy, Marine Corps, DOD is acknowledging that the 810 Warhawk actually was there and hit us, because in his citation it states after his vehicle was disabled due to friendly fire, he evacuated his personnel. So it looks like they're finally taking some
Wow.
Responsibility for it. Yeah. So that's why I have a hatred for him. I know a lot of units love him, and I'm sure they've done a lot of great things, but it's just kind of one of those things,
Sure.
when you look back at it, and you lose 18 guys and 17 were basically from friendly fire. I mean, we're kicking ass until our own people came in,
Yeah.
gave us a good sucker punch,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Wow.
and Pete, it's funny, you talk about like jokes that are haha, but they're not really funny. But people say like we never leave anybody behind. I'm like, no, we do it all the time. There's a command in Hawaii for it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole command in Hawaii
That's right.
dedicated to go get the people we leave behind because we do it so freaking often.
Yeah.
And they're begging people to go on deployment for them.
Right.
They have so many, and that blows people's mind. They're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, there's a command in Hawaii that where we go and we go look for everybody we left behind.
It's in case you're wondering, that's JTF full accounting.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
there you go, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not
So
supposed to
we do
say
it all
that.
the time,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that haha funny, but I mean, it's funny how everybody thinks we don't leave anyone behind because,
Right.
if we say it enough, maybe it'll happen,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Right.
absolutely. It's kind of like, I very recently posted and I heard this from a comedian. I forgot his name now. It's Toby something, but it basically says someone in the audience asked him what he thought about the military or something like that, and he goes, "You want to know what I think? I think the greatest revelation that the United States government came when it comes to our military vets is it's cheaper to worship them than to take care of them." And it's true, right? It's like it's cheaper to leave shit behind, right? Whether bodies or equipment than to properly take all that stuff back home with us. And it's part of war, and it's ugly and it's unfair, but whoever said life was fucking fair to begin with?
That's right. So I'm going to be making quite a few funny statements and jokes, man, throughout the podcast, because I already feel my blood boiling a little bit. So I'm trying to keep, keep it light tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Out of respect to you and out of respect to me not fucking killing anybody tonight. You know what I'm saying? But, hey, look at that. Bobby Raines is in the room. What's up, Bobby?
Nice.
I'll send you that $5 check later for saying those things. But anyway, so you went to track. You're not one of them yes guys, are you?
No, I'm a yak guy. You ain't
Yak?
Corpsman, you ain't shit.
There you go. Well, so I used to get into it all the time with the tractors. So I'd call them shit. They're like, "No, man, I'm not shit. Fuck you, Doc." I'm like, "No, let's break this down a little bit, right? You ain't tracks. You ain't shit." Yeah. Well, I'm not tracks. That's right. So I'm not shit. That's right. I said, "But you're tracks." Yeah. So you're shit. Yeah. No. What? Wait. All the time, man. It's like low hanging fruit. Too easy.
Yeah.
So you get assigned to the unit, and this is what year again?
2000.
2000. All right. So you had time to really build that bond.
You've just survived Y2K.
Right.
I mean, let's not downplay that, okay? He's just survived Y2K.
No.
He's just come out of the cave. Fire has started, and we have electricity again. For those that don't remember,
Right.
It was going to be the world was going to collapse.
Yeah, because I was in course school, so we actually were able to take leave to go home for Christmas and New Year. And I remember that was like the big running joke, like, I hope we see each other next year. Like, oh my gosh, hope the plane doesn't crash.
Yeah, because it was going to be.
I remember,
because for those who may not know, or for any younger listeners that have picked up, it was not known because code is written on top of code on top of code on top of code. And in fact, Time magazine had a cover of like 3 of the guys who were fired by Microsoft, and it said Gray Ghosts. They'd formed a new company to come in and rewrite the code because people forgot the original code. But they thought, anyway, long story short, the date format was 2-digit, not 4-digit. So they thought when it went to 2000, some systems might think it's 1900 and shut off completely. That could be hospital emergency systems. No one was sure. And so a huge subculture erupted of businesses that would go in and rewrite your code for like millions of dollars to make sure your computer knew it was 2000. And then nothing happened. I think maybe somebody's like Timex watch was off by like 30 seconds or something, some shit like that, but nothing happened.
Right.
Thank you for the history lesson, Grandpa Lou. Anyway, Man, I completely forgot.
And mute.
Yeah, I don't remember what we were talking about. Thanks, appreciate it.
No, 2000. He comes in, goes to tracks,
Oh,
getting
that's
ready
right,
to,
that's right.
getting ready. Getting the new gear. Right about then, Molly's coming out.
Yep.
People were just starting to replace flak jackets.
Yeah.
So I'm not wearing the shit somebody sweat in 40 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
The interceptors.
Yeah. Activating tinea. Pick a body part. Tinea bodius.
Yeah, corporate. There you go. You remembered something. So you got plenty of time to bond with your Marines and to learn. Basically, you already knew how to be a corpsman.
Right.
You were already prepared for that. But yeah, so going into a brand new Marine unit, learning how they operate. So that's beneficial and fortunate, right? It beats the hell out of being some augmentee that just gets assigned to a unit. And you're
Absolutely, and I have been augmentees, and even though, because Iraq was my first deployment, and that gave me the notoriety or fame or whatever you want to call it, right? The spotlight. I was fortunate when I would go to other units, especially as an IA. You have your reputation kind of precedes you, but it was still you still felt it. You still you weren't the home unit. You don't really know your Marines as well as you did when I was at tracks. All of my guys, I knew all their medical history. I didn't need to pull up their medical record. I knew who had allergies. I knew who was taking medication on a daily basis. I knew all that stuff.
right.
But when you get augmented, you don't build that bond. You don't build that connection. And I'm not saying you don't do still the best job that you do, but I definitely believe that being with them for those 3 years before Iraq kicked off, in my point of view, was probably the best outcome you can have to prepare a unit to go into combat. To have that the same group of men or women trained for so long together. So
I just, I'm in my mind's eye because I'm a little bit fucked up in the head. All right, a lot of bit, but I'm like picturing you being an IA somewhere, and when the Marines tell you to get lost, you fucking oh damn, oh sorry doc, didn't know it was you. My bad. It's just the weird shit that goes on in my head.
Yeah.
But so you guys deployed over there, and when did you deploy in country?
So we staged in Kuwait like everyone else. We got recalled. I want to say right on New Year's Day, the whole battalion got recalled, and we came back. And by January 7th, I believe it was on the 7th, we were on the ship to float over to Kuwait, staged in Kuwait for like a month and a half, and then on March 19th of 2003, President Bush came, over the horn and said, "Hey, major conflicts been started in Iraq," and that's when we saw the missiles and the planes fly overhead of us, and I want to say roughly about it's been such a long time, maybe an hour, 2, 3 hours later, we started pushing forward to cross into Iraq, and so the first few days uneventful, and 21 years ago tomorrow, my unit was tasked to secure the northern bridge, the Saddam Canal Bridge in Al Nazariya, and that's where we went in and took mission and took 18 casualties. We ran into a perfect U-shaped ambush, and I'm sure y'all got some questions, but from there, it goes on. So
yeah, man. So I have so many questions. I don't even know where to begin. But let me just cherry pick one. Reading your citation, it talked about how you set up a CCP, casualty collection point. Was that like you were probably on autopilot, man? Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, those citations, man, they make, and maybe that's why, like, I don't want to be like these new kids. Oh, I cringe. I don't, but it's sometimes like when I read it, I'm like, because I can tear it apart.
Oh yeah,
every word I can tear apart because I lived it. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me, and I can tell you right now that my citation isn't in chronological order. When people think of CCPs, they think of a very collected and, oh, bring my Marines here and put category ones here, put cat twos here, put expectants over there. It's not like that. I wish it was, but it's not. It was
mass chaos.
absolutely 100%, and that's why when I was a young, corpsman at E2, E3, HAHN, the first time and also the second time,
We'll
I
talk
never
about that in a little bit.
Yeah, I never understood the repetition, especially when I thought I had mastered the skill set. And my HM3 was like, I don't care. Keep doing it. Turn off the lights now. Blindfold you. Do this. Now we're going to start screaming at you or throw water at you. Keep practicing, like whatever. And it was for that day. As cheesy as it sounds, it was for that day. I've been in other situations where I haven't felt as prepared as I was on March 23rd. And I definitely have been a hell of a lot more scared. Hell of a lot more. Because I'm actively having to think, what is my next process when on March 23rd, everything's laid out for me. I have casualties, legs blown off. And I did get pulled in 2004 to go to a war symposium with the Surgeon General at the Navy at the time. I forgot who it was. This was back in 2004. And some other admirals and captains, doctors and whatnot. And they were asking me, they were like, so why did you put on a tourniquet before, because back then tourniquets were your very last resort.
Right.
And I just told him, I was like, the leg was already blown off. It was hanging on there by skin and muscle. Like, he's going to lose anyways. Why am I going to waste my time doing bandages and stuff? And I'm not saying that I helped modify anything that we do in the Navy, but I do feel that I was part of a group that helped push forward on how we want to treat combat casualties on the field. But anywho, everything was definitely on autopilot from the moment that Gunning told me, hey, Doc, 211's been hit, get out there and see how you can help, to the moment that we started calling in the birds. When it talks about the casualty collection point, it was as simple as Matthew Beavers, Sergeant Beavers in the Marines had already, even though my citation says that I went and evacuated these Marines, like people think like I jumped into this burning vehicle. No, they were already getting egressed out when I got there to help. And so they were basically all laid on the ground already. So when the citation says did a CCP, no, like I ran into a group of injured Marines and started treating them, you know what I mean? Like and that's why, like, when people are like, oh my God, so heroic or so this or so that, I look, I'm like, dude, first and foremost, everything was almost done on autopilot. Secondly, when I did make decisions, honestly, they were out of fear. We're getting bombarded. A sergeant looks at me and says, Doc, we're about to get hit. What should we do with our casualties? Well, I'm not going to say I'm going to stay there. Fuck it. Let's, weigh it out. My only thought process was like, oh, I'm a corpsman. Let me get him to my medic back vehicle. So in the citation was as, calmly, methodically did this. No, it was like, no, let's get him over there. And we get in there and I'm in my vehicle and I feel a little bit more secure. So I start doing morphine and dressing wounds until I get the radio call that we have more casualties. And you go back out there and repeat it again.
Bro, you're selling yourself way short, man. I know 100% where you're coming from and what you're saying. You just went out there and you did your job. But you know what? You went out there and you did your job. There's a lot of kids that would have froze, man.
True. Yeah. And unfortunately, the senior line corpsman that was for 1-2, that's exactly what happened. And that's why I got stuck going out there so many times by myself. But on a different point of view, with a different perspective, when I talk to my Marines, and like, because they say things like that, like, no, Doc, but you don't, and then they'll say things like, back in 2003, you're out there with just a 9mm, 80-pound medical bag. You're the one running around the battlefield crazy. And in the way I viewed it was, I didn't have to face the enemy. When we were getting shot at, those Marines stared death in the face, pointed their weapons at it, and said, not today, motherfucker. Where I got to run around and kind of block all of that out. And I attest a little bit of that to allow me to keep my composure as casualties were going in, as the day was going on and we're getting worn down and tired. Was knowing that I had the biggest group of brothers that I could ever count on to have my back, and how dare I not be there for them.
Luis, I was senior enlisted leader for an expeditionary medical facility, an EMF with the Navy. And I got to know the doctors and the corpsmen very well. And what I will tell you, in my point of view, you are a hero, because I would rather be out there doing the security forces, getting shot at, than taking on the casualties, especially of those that I know. So I applaud you for being able to maintain during that, because I mean, my muscle memory is shooting and training to fight. I don't know if I could keep it together in those circumstances. So
Thank you.
Luis, I'll say we do, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I've always maintained that the Navy just does a horrible job of stress inoculation, right? We just do a terrible job of that. But every now and then we come across leaders who are very good at it. So Andy knows I had a guy, Carl, amazing, and I think his leadership contributes to the lack of PTSD, right? But what do you have to say about your experience prior to going? Like, you talked a little bit about it, like the games, everything they did was preparation, you know? And then when you took that message to the fleet, how was that received?
Honestly, very well. When I look back at my career, and some people, and I understand, you all made it into the Chiefs mess, I didn't, and I can understand where some sailors think like, oh, you never made Chief, that's such a shame. And I'm like, but why is it though? Like, I did 22 years. I did more than most. I did 9 deployments, but I'm very fortunate. I was very fortunate to have, I believe, that I stayed as an HM1, because it allowed me to stay so close to my sailors and on the deck plates, that when I brought that message, it was kind of like, oh shit, Fonseca saying it. That's gold. Yeah, let's go train. Let's go do this. Okay, roger that. And I was also not that leader that just said, hey, do this and do that. I can probably tell you, all my corpsmen will tell you, yeah, if Fonseca wanted us to train, whether it was PT, medical training, GMTs, whatever it was, I was there leading them. I wasn't, in my office saying go PT or go HM2s or HM3s, go do this, make sure our guys are ready to go. Like, no, I was right there with them. And when I became also LPO of clinics, to show them how much I emphasize on training, I would go into any clinic and grab all of our PQSs and have my junior sailors run me through the PQS as if I was a junior sailor just like them. So that way, not only did I know what they were talking about, so when I had to go talk to Chief, Senior Chief, I was educated enough and I could talk them through the steps, but also, like I said, it felt like it allowed them to see like, wow, this is a guy that not only talks the talk, but walks the walk as well. So I think it was received very well.
Good.
I have a lot of mixed feelings on that. And I think you're better off. I'll probably piss off a lot of people saying this, but I was very disillusioned with the mess.
Yeah.
Very. I had a lot of differences. It's kind of like it's all smoke and mirrors, man. You
What?
know what I mean?
What?
Here we go. So
What?
that was my take on it. If you're a shipbird as a third class, second class, first class, and you happen to make Chief, well, them anchors didn't miraculously fucking turn you into fucking,
Excuse me, they have 6 weeks of training.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, and that's some pretty rough training too.
Luis, we'd be setting it up. Like, once I got behind the curtain, I'd be setting up for the next year, and I'd be like, hey, I just have a question. Why do you guys wait so long? And the Master Chief would be like, what do you mean? I'd be like, well, hold on. That's my diabetes alarm.
He's got diabetes.
I'll die in a second. All right. Anyway, I'm going to have to take care of that. I'll make my comment.
Anyway, dude. So I've always come with the philosophy of it doesn't matter if you did 4 years or 40, man. You served, and you should be 100% proud of that, man.
Absolutely. And I tell a lot of people that I was that one guy that would be like, oh, so especially when I was really fit, people were like, oh my god, are you because they would see the ribbon stack and they might not know what the Navy Cross is, but they see all the ribbons and all, like, oh my gosh, are you like Navy SEALs? But I'm like, no, dude, like not at all. But so I tell a lot of sailors, I don't even know why I got on that ramp, but what I'm trying to say is, absolutely, once I retired, you realize that whether you give 4 years or, like you said, 40 years, every day is such a sacrifice to put on that uniform and walk into work. A lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, it's just a job. It's like a 9 to 5, go clock in. You might have duty here and there, but
Air Force.
no, it's so much more than that. It's so much more.
It's insane. And what I was getting at earlier was when I would ask them, why do you wait? And they said, why wait? I said, well, you're waiting until these guys pick up E7 to teach them all these leadership techniques. But in the Marine Corps, there's a kid 19 taking in a 3-man team to their death.
Yeah.
and you know what? That 3-man team is following them.
Mm-hmm.
They're pushing leadership early. Why do you wait so long? That's my question. Why are you waiting so long?
It's a great question.
Absolutely.
Different mindset, different mission. So I always found it so difficult going from a green side unit back to a blue side unit. And the biggest, I don't know, awakening or problem adjusting. I had just left an infantry battalion. I went to a submarine. Whoa. I had a hard time adjusting there, let me tell you. But I wanted to ask you, as a it's kind of a two-pronged question. We'll get to you going to a green or a blue side clinic in a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, more importantly, how much pressure did you feel as an E2, E3 walking around with a Navy Cross? What did that do to you? Honest answer, man.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I've shared this before. In my own world, because I've done a lot of therapy throughout the years, I've come to where I am now. Throughout the years, I can say that for certain, I did create a world in my head where I thought all of y'all wanted this poster picture perfect corpsman. That's what I thought the Navy wanted, and it could have been. For all I know, it could have, right?
Sure.
But when every day you don't live up to that, what you have as an expectation, and then you're going out to give speeches about how supposedly heroic you are, but yeah, you're getting drunk every day, right? Now you're even starting to use illicit drugs on active duty to cope with some of this shit. And now you're going to give speeches about motivation, hoorah, honor, courage, commitment. Let's get into the fight. And that imposter syndrome hit so bad for those so many years. There's a great a CIA dude that does podcasts, and I watch him a lot. And he talks about, in the CIA, there's this thing where they train all their agents that people have 3 lives. They have their personal life, or their public life, right, which everyone sees. They have their private life, which is at home, your spouse knows, and then you have your secret life. And I never understood it until I heard him explain it like that. And that's really how I lived most of my Navy career. I had 3 personas. I had HM, whatever rank I was, trying to fit into this Navy mold. And then I had what my kids and my spouse saw at home, the drinking, some of the drug use. And then I did have a secret life that involved more the deeper drug use, me cheating quite a bit on my ex-spouse. But that went back and forth, so it is what it is. But just a lot of very secretive life. And so yeah, I understood that. And so dealing with that for so long, it's easy to hold secrets. It's easy to lie. Because also when you're dealing with trauma and you were raised in a house with trauma, and nothing against my parents, they did the best that they could do. My dad did the best that he could do with the tools that he was given to him. And he was unfortunately given the tools of alcoholism and yelling and screaming. And he did the best with them as he could.
Hey,
but when you're
those sirens aren't for you, are they?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking. Just checking. I had to make sure they
No,
weren't for me. Fuck.
so yeah, so when you're raised in a house of trauma, you learn how to walk on the eggshells, you know how to keep secrets because you don't want, mom or dad or whoever to come on you. So I lived that life a lot throughout my Navy career, which also was my detriment and led to some of those NJPs as well. And so yeah, so it literally took me to the point of me wanting to kill myself on July 8th of 2018. So
I've been there, brother. But I'm gonna say another probably very unpopular statement that will again piss a lot of people off. I'm sure. I think leadership failed you. I really do. I
I do
think it
too.
should have had
Looking
somebody.
back at it now. Go ahead.
Probably
Somebody should
intimidated.
have. What's that?
We're probably intimidated.
Well, I'm sure, and then because that goes back to ego again,
Yeah.
which gets
Probably
people in trouble.
afraid. How do I lead this guy? You know?
Right? Should have had some asshole like me who didn't give a shit that should have recognized the signs early
Yeah.
and helped
Yeah.
you, man.
And
I know you're an
absolutely,
alcoholic. I can smell my own.
absolutely. And that was the thing and that's what when you guys say I feel leadership failed you for many years, I will always take responsibility for what I did.
Sure.
Because I woke up sober and I made all those decisions. The decision for me to get fucked up that day was made sober. And when I knew I was getting fucked up, I didn't care what I did. So but yeah, like there's part of me when I became a leader and I was seeing those signs, I was very intrusive with my sailors. What the
Yeah.
fuck are you doing? Come on, let's go talk. Oh, H1. No. That, you know my story. Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. I've taken sailors by the hand to DAPA and said to the HM1 or the chief, they are self-referring. They're not being command referred. They are self-referring. HM1, get your ass in there now. Because I saw those signs and I didn't care if they were pissed off at me at the moment. Because I can almost guarantee you at the end of the day, they would be happy about it. And that's one thing. And I have a lot of great leader friends that are Master Chiefs now. Two of them are Force Master Chiefs right now. And I've asked them, I said, I give y'all credit for helping me make it to the podium to 22 years. I said, but when everyone asked me, what do I feel was missing in my Navy career that kept me just allowing me to drink so much? I said, it was just someone picking up the phone on a day that I wasn't fucking drunk or on a day that I didn't have to go see the CMC or the CO to explain my actions, just to pick up the phone and say, hey, Luis, I know you've been sober for about a month now. How's it going? Do you need to come over to my house? Do you want to go fishing? How can I help you in your recovery? Do you need me to take you to a meeting? But in 22 years, not one person ever picked up the phone to fucking ask me how I was doing until I had to stand in front of the CO or in front of a
Yeah.
DRB.
You want to get pissed?
Absolutely, I agree with you guys.
It's my point exactly.
Yeah, you want to get pissed off even more. I worked at the Naval Rehabilitation Center when we did a study on command involvement and follow-up care for people who attend treatment. And when you do a study in the military, you have to apply for permission to study.
Mm-hmm.
Then you do it. Then you have to apply for them to review your results. And then you have to apply for a decision. So it's 3 applications you have to make. So we got to the second one. We applied to have the results reviewed. The results were reviewed and we got denied publishing because of course, if the commanding officer visits his sailor for graduation, the sailor tends to do better. But the Navy cannot afford to publish that because COs don't have the time.
Right.
Or is what they'll say, right? That's what they'll say.
It's crazy. Every generation says it, this generation, this generation, that. But I can tell you, I know we don't know each other very well, Luis. I spent 32 years in, and so I saw a lot of changes and a lot of managers taking the leadership role and just completely fucking things up left and right.
Yep.
And so I don't know you and didn't serve with you, but I've seen 100 use, maybe 1,000. It's a leadership issue, bro. Yeah, you're not innocent, but leadership failed you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
My
No,
buddy
I
used
agree
to say,
too. And I would have even been I would have been more pleased if even leadership would have been like, hey, Fonseca, we're taking you to SARP. We don't care. Like, your Navy career's at a dead stop right now. We're going to get you help. And even if that meant we found that it'd be best to separate you, then at least to me, it would have felt like someone really cared,
Yeah.
But when you go 22 years, like I said, without those phone calls, and you go into doctor's office, and within a month, you can bullshit your way out of going back to another, appointment so you can get your shit full duty back out to the field, and your chiefs are like, oh, I thought your mental health treatment was scheduled for 8 weeks. How'd you get out in 4? I don't know. See, I told y'all I'm not crazy.
yeah.
That next weekend, what am I doing? So, but that's also checking the box leadership, and that's what I call it, right?
Woo, brother. We could talk for days on that, man. Let me tell you. Yeah, I'm not even going down that road right now. I can't believe I made it out. I can't believe I made it past 4 years, let alone 32, man.
Yeah, we were laughing about this the other day, Luis and Ryan. He's throwing it here too. We were talking about things leaders are supposed to say, but they don't mean it, right? Like, so when the captain says during the convoy brief, "Hey, if anyone has to take a piss, just get on the radio." Okay, he's supposed to say that. We ain't stopping. Okay, so I know I put you all on the spot, okay? But if you can, give me one of your examples of things leaders I'm supposed to say that, okay?
Oh,
don't you dare.
So one of the things, and I say this a lot when I go to military commands, when they ask me to go be a speaker for suicide prevention and awareness month, right, in September, or even if they just ask me to, do a morale speech. One thing that I always put in the speeches is this. I said to my leaders, I said, stop telling your sailors one thing when you don't mean it. I'll tell them, I said, how many of y'all, raise of hands, have heard this from a leader? Whether you're a leader now or you're a junior personnel. I have an open door policy, but the first question I'm going to ask you is, did you go to the person below me? Everyone just about raises their hand. I said, so stop saying that, because you do not have an open door policy. You have a chain of command structure that you expect your sailors to follow. So just tell them that. Like, I don't have a command policy. Take it up your chain of command. And by the time it gets to me, you have better spoken to all these people, because at least I know who the fuck you are now. Because when I knock on your door and I say, hey, chief, hey, HM1, hey, sir, ma'am, and you say, oh, did you go talk to this? Then no, you told me I had an open door policy to come bring to you anything that I needed. And obviously that's not the case. So why am I going to go talk to anyone else? And they don't see how that affects, I don't know if people forget where they came from. I don't know if maybe just those people have always been shady and crooked their whole life. And that's, how they see fit to lead men and women, but it's not. So that's what I say. The whole, I have an open door policy. Don't fucking say that. If you don't have one, don't say it.
That's perfect. Holy shit, that's perfect. Damn. It's hard to top that one.
I was gonna say, don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution. Yeah. I'll never see you, buddy. Bye. If I have the solution, I don't need to come to you, man. Goodbye. That's Goodbye. Right. See you. I PCS in 3 years, Chief.
Yeah.
If I was a second class and Chief said that to me, he'd come in the warehouse and he'd be all fucked up because I'm full of solutions.
I don't care. How about, I don't care what time it is. If you get in trouble, call me.
But then they'll follow it up with this. Even if it's at 2 or 3 in the morning, I might be pissed off when I come get you, but at least you'll be safe. If you're already telling me you're going to be pissed off when I call you when I'm in need, why the fuck am I going to call you? That's another thing that I tell them a lot too in those speeches. I said, no, I don't. And I fortunately, I've when I was on active duty, Uber and Lyft started coming out towards the end. I ended up paying 13 bills on Uber for sailors that would call me at 2, 3 in the morning, HM1, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what's going on? Are you hurt? No, I'm just wasted. I can't get home. Okay, where you at? Send me your drop. I'll send an Uber over there. Monday comes around there in my office, right? Because most sailors are scared. Standing by the office, I'm like, hey, what's up? And they're like, HM1, do you want to talk about this weekend? No, did something else happen that I'm not aware of? No, HM1, I got home just, the Uber came, got me, and I went straight home. Okay, then there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's turn to.
Right.
And I
Wait,
think
what?
once that
Oh.
story started getting out, so many junior sailors were able to come and approach me.
How
Go ahead.
dare you? How dare you exercise leadership?
Right?
What the
I
hell's
know.
wrong with you, man?
I know. As I tell my chiefs, I was like, I'll be your leading petty officer, but the first time you question my leadership, then I'm out. I said, if you want me to lead, I'll lead. But because I hated that. Oh, why didn't you pass that by me?
Right.
Because I'm 36 fucking years old. You're 27. So I've been doing this 9 years longer than you. I don't need to come talk to my baby chief like, oh, Poppy, can I do this? No, motherfucker. Like, let me lead. Are you going to jail? Are you going to see the CO? No. Then calm the fuck down.
I love the take care of your sailors line,
Yeah.
and then when you take care of your sailors, they don't like the way you took care of it.
Nope.
Then your ass is in. Yeah, I got that a lot.
Yeah.
But as a leader, it's difficult, because that decision, no matter what it is at the end of the day, is coming out of your mouth and you have to take ownership of it. So, I mean, I think we've all experienced both, good and poor leaders.
Mhm.
But in regards to this, I did have a master chief that had a pretty decent solution. He would drill us every day, every Friday at least. It was, if I drink, I will not drive. If I drive, I will not drink. I don't do drugs because they're illegal. And then he wouldn't let us leave the gate until we showed him our dog tags. He had these special yellow dog tags printed out for us, and they had a taxi number and it had a quarterdeck number. And at the quarterdeck, he would always leave cash, for the taxis to bring people back. And he would talk to them, but he would keep it hush hush between him. But he did demonstrate that for me, and that was the only time I'd really seen anything like that. Because I'd heard, all these, if you give me a call, or, we'll have a talk, and then next thing you know, it's captain's mast for somebody.
Yeah.
I've seen that 1,000 times. But Sammy Lyman,
No.
man, he made Master Chief, Force Master Chief, I believe, and he was a great leader.
Yeah.
They're out there for
They
sure.
are.
Unfortunately, you don't remember the good ones.
Yeah,
as
that,
much.
and even our great leaders, all of us have our faults. We're all human beings. None of us are perfect. You know what I mean? Pat Mangarin, who's currently the Force Master Chief, has been a longtime friend of mine. And when I shared that story about when leadership asked me what do I feel failed, and I shared the story about no one has called me. And I shared that with Pap. I said, Pap, brother, I was like, I love you like a brother. You know that, and I will never. There's nothing you could possibly ever do on this earth for me to ever lose respect or love for you. I said, but Pap, when did you ever pick up the phone and just call me out of the blue, bro? And he took that to heart, man. He took that because I was right before he was getting ready to go go put on Force, and he took that to heart. So we've spoken a little bit about that afterwards as well too.
So my whole point with the bringing up the chief thing earlier, there is definitely a point, and I was kind of waiting to get around to it. My point is, it doesn't matter that you didn't make chief. You're a leader. It doesn't matter what rank you were, what you had. You're teaching leaders lessons, bro. So I don't want you to ever self-doubt again or worry about it, man. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. And yeah, people like yourself and the great khakis that I truly admire for their leadership qualities and who they are just as human beings. You know, drove that into me the last few years when I knew after 4 NJPs, no one's gonna tell you you're out of the fight. Everyone's still gonna be like, no, Fonseca, you got a great chance. But I knew there was no way that I would really pin on Chief. And them just reminding me every day that, yes, you might wear first class clothes, but the way you carry yourself is someone that should be wearing anchors. The way that you train and lead your men and women is someone that should be wearing anchors. So just because you don't wear them, don't think that you're not a leader. And that really helped me out the last probably 5 years of my career to make it to the end and whatnot. So
I think one of the big things too, is E6, right? There's no excuse for not making it to E6. You can have a promotable eval and score high enough on the test to overcome that. So that's E6 is but what people fail to understand who aren't in the Navy is beyond E6. Now it is out of your hands. It's not in your hands anymore.
Right.
Now it's on a group. And who did you piss off? Who are you stationed with? Who's sitting at that table? And people say that stuff doesn't matter. Not true. One of the MCPONs who was removed for being a scumbag but allowed to retire, who I can't stand, Russell Smith. Oh, I'm sorry. Rhymes with Russell Smith.
Oops.
But I was warned by a senior chief because he and I hated each other. And a senior chief told me he was known up at OpNav for walking into boards and taking packages off saying, oh, this person's not ready. Don't worry. I'll take care of this. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, and that's what the senior chief told me. He's like, if you want to stick around, don't be, you guys, you better settle what you have going on because it's obvious you don't like him and he doesn't like you, so, but I mean, I'm just saying, though, we all, and I know one of our listeners, Bear has a story about walking in San Diego. Hey, did you get your list up to so-and-so? Yep, sure did. And they were all on there. I mean, just story after story after story. I'm sure Andy's got them. Luis, I'm sure you got them. Ryan, I'm sure you got them. Story after story. My point isn't it's a corrupt system. We should banish it. My point is that after E6 in the Navy, it's outside of your control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're stuck with that. So E6, I think, in my mind, that's the guy who hustled, retired, did what he's supposed to do, and there's no shame in the game. You know what I'm saying? Beyond that, how many E7s do you know who are never going to go anywhere because they said the wrong thing?
Almost me. Almost.
Yeah, but that's the name of the game, man. Yeah, that's the name of the game.
Or let's just be honest. How many E7, E8s, and E9s do you know hung up that cover for good and now have no fucking clue who they are, what they're doing in life anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Lost as hell.
Oh,
broke, yeah. Gambling their money away, drinking themselves away, but what was it, 5 years ago, they thought they were hot shit and they didn't stink, right?
At the VFW, we're listening to other people say, I don't give a shit. I was a master sergeant too.
Yeah.
Right.
We're all master sergeants and we're all recon and we've all shot 15 people.
Right. In a single
we
day.
all did missions that we can't talk about and have awards that have.
That's right. That's right. At the VFW. Yeah, that's right.
Team 27.
Talk about them over and over, anyways.
When they bring up this guy Luis Fonseca, I'm like, that son of a bitch used to bring me water. Can you believe that? And now he's running around with a cross. Could you imagine what I'd have had if I was out there?
Right.
I taught that guy everything he knows.
Yeah. He was a good guy. I'll tell you what, that son of a bitch was a good kid, man. Old man Fonseca's boy, man, he was a good kid.
I've had stories like that where people are like, hey, Fonseca, I didn't know you knew this person, that person. I'm like, I don't. Who are they? I didn't know you from here and here. And I'm like, no, I know I got 5 TBIs and I don't remember everything, but I do know I was not there. I don't know.
I got some long coattails.
Hey,
Luis, you got long coattails, brother.
I wanted to ask a very important question. I know we're kind of running short on time. Lou, I know you probably can you stick around for a few?
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay. So you coped with your demons through drugs and alcohol. And that's I don't know anybody who hasn't. Number one, myself included. But how did you find that light? How did you escape the drugs and the alcohol? And what do you do to cope now?
Great questions. I wish I had a great story where I woke up one day and the angels, were singing and the great message came to me, but it wasn't like that at all. On July 8th of 2018, after 17 years of dealing with my demons in a very unhealthy manner, I decided to pull a Glock 21 to my head and pull the trigger. And I pulled the trigger and it actually misfired.
Speaking of misfire,
the springs that make the name of the spring is in the Glock.
You froze up on us a little bit. Can we rewind?
Oh yeah. So on July 8th of 2018, I decided to put my Glock 21 to my head and pull the trigger, and it ended up misfiring. And the reason why it misfired, because a lot of people, since they're hearing more of the story, there's some people out there like, Glocks don't misfire. You're fucking lying. You're whatever, dude. I don't give a shit. But what actually caused it to misfire was there's a spring in the back. It's not the one that brings the slide back, but it's another spring,
The
and
buffer
that had been,
spring.
yeah, I think so, and that had worn out, and so the round literally stovepiped in the gun. It didn't have enough force to whatever, and so surviving that suicide attempt and coming home to my wife, and still having a plan on going to my garage and hanging myself. My wife was in the shower, taking a shower, and I walk in to let her know I'm home and I was gonna go do what I wanted to do in the garage. But she asked me, hey babe, won't you jump in the shower with me? And my wife and I normally shower together every day.
That's
So I
right.
was like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh wait, sorry, that's a different story. Never mind.
So yeah, I jumped in there, man, and she was rinsing off her shampoo, and I remember she was doing this, and then she kind of like feels for my chest, and she opens her eyes, and she just asked me right then and there. She's like, "Hey, babe, I don't know what's up." She goes, "But what's going on with you?" And she was already used to the drunken Louise, the getting high here and there, Louise, um, but I
So
guess there was just some signs that I was really, really off for a
let me
while. And
ask you, did you feel a sense of peace once you made up your mind?
absolutely,
Guaranteed
and
that's what she saw.
and and um and and then also anger when the round didn't go off, disappointment because you're such a piece of shit. You don't even know how to kill yourself, right? Like it's ridiculous the negative thoughts that we can build in our own mind, right?
Yeah,
And
brother.
so yeah, so when she asked me, she goes, "What was wrong?" I just took the opportunity to finally just open my mouth, and all I told her was like, "Babe, I honestly don't know." I said, "But I do know that I just attempted to kill myself, and I'm ready to go hang myself in the garage. I'm done with this." And my wife was an IDC when she was in the Navy, but I believe it was more her wifely instincts that kicked in, and she asked me to wait in the shower. And what she ended up doing was going to the house, grabbing my guns, locking them, taking the keys out to my mother-in-law lives on our property, taking our keys over to my mother-in-law's place on our property. So I didn't have any access to my guns. And she came back in and she asked me, she goes, "Are you now ready to go get help?" And so I did. We called a chief and told him what happened. This was on a Sunday, and so Monday, I was gonna go in and oh, I'm sorry, Sunday night when I was talking to Chief, we had came to the plan that I would go in on Monday and go to Fleet Family Services instead of the hospital. I was able to talk my chief into it, I guess if you want to call it that way, because he didn't know I was using illegal drugs. But I
Mhm.
knew as soon as I went into the hospital and they did a blood panel, part of that would be a drug panel. So I was kind of trying to find a way to save my career, but also get help without
Right.
getting kicked out. And so, Fee and Family Services, I told Chief, I was like, look, Chief, I've been doing mental health in the military for X amount of years. I just can't get through to them. I can't connect with the doctors. Let me go somewhere different, somewhere that I haven't tried yet, where I can hopefully relate to someone. And in hindsight, it was the best decision ever because Kristen, who was my counselor, she was never active duty, never in the military. Her family has people in the military, but like her spouse wasn't even in the military. um, she didn't give a shit about a Navy Cross. She didn't give a shit about war stories, everything that I used to put like foggers over doctors' eyes in the military to get out of treatment early. It didn't work for her. So I remember leaving that day after, it was the first hour and a half of intake. And I remember leaving that day and telling Kristen, I said, "Hey, I'm going to give you something that I've never given anyone." She looked at me puzzled. She goes, "What's that, Luis?" And I said, "I'm going to give you the truth." And so I did. So I started just spilling everything. No demon was too scary for me to put in front of her, and I really did. I put everything in front of her. And when I came back, my chief, Ricardo Palacios, I was at a dental unit at the time. One of the best chiefs, one of the best men to this day. He just retired about 3 months ago. When I came back, all the sailors were already in formation. We're in the office, like, all right, let's get out there. And I was like, all right, so where do you want me to go? He goes, well, the sailors are out there. Go out there with the sailors. I'm thinking he wants me to get out there and get information. So I get information. And when him and the OIC get out there, he's like, I can see he's puzzled and he waves me up there. So I walk up there. I'm like, what's up, Chief? He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm studying information with the crew. He's like, well, who's going to lead them? And I was like, you don't have a new LPO yet? He's like, no, you're my LPO. You've always been my LPO. You just needed to take a time out. I was like, okay, Chief, I'm still kind of like, okay, trying to get my bearings, see what's going on, and so he just kind of whispers in my ear. He goes, Fonseca, he goes, your sailors don't know anything. All they know is that you've been taking care of a family emergency. It's up to you what you want to tell them. And the way I heard it was, Fonseca, you can keep lying to everyone and eventually you're going to fucking be successful and kill yourself, or you can start being honest with your sailors and your team and hopefully get the help that you need. And so that was the first day I stood in front of a formation, in front of any type of sailor in uniform, and spoke my truth about not obviously the drugs, but the drinking, the suicide attempt, all of that, the demons I was dealing with, and all the hugs I got from my sailors after formation. I knew I would be okay, and I knew I'd be okay as long as I kept speaking my truth. And that's what I live by every day, regardless of how ugly it is, regardless of, there's been times where I've been either at an airport or I've been traveling and I'm away from my wife, and I had that really bad urge to want to drink, and I'll call someone or I'll make a Facebook post. And even my wife has gone mad, like, why didn't you call me first? Babe, because at that moment, I just needed to reach out to anyone. It didn't matter. So that's what I mean by speaking my truth. I don't care who I upset now by me saying, hey, I need a timeout. Hey, my mental health. Hey, I'm thinking about drinking again. I'll be 6 years this year, so I haven't touched sense or drugs either. So like all those things, right? Like I just speak about it. I talk about it. I don't hide in shame. That's why we founded the No Shame Warrior Foundation. I hide in no shame of the life that I lived, what I've done to overcome those adversities, and where I'm planning on going into the future. And I want everyone to feel the same way too. Like, we're all human beings struggling on this, blue marble. None of us are unique. None of us have these thoughts in our head that only we have ever thought of. There's 8 billion people in this world. I guarantee you probably 6 billion of them have probably the same thoughts as you do. And out of throughout human history, God knows how many more have had those same thoughts. So that's
That
how,
truth,
yeah. So that's how
that truth is liberating,
it absolutely is, because they say, now you don't have to worry about what lies did I tell.
right?
What do I have to cover up? Who did I tell what to what? You know what I'm saying? Or if I told this lie to this person, because the military is so small, is it going to make it back to these other people that I'm lying about? And when and I say that because as much as people give me credit for being a great leader or a good human being, at the end of the day, like I said, I had imposter syndrome for a reason, because I did all of that. I was a habitual liar, a habitual secret, someone that kept secrets. The only thing I probably never lied about in my Navy career was the actions on March 23rd, 2003, because it was always a fucking citation attached to it. But besides, and I say that very honestly now, because it's my truth. Not saying that I didn't lead sailors in a false manner or lying to them. It was always with all the love and care of my heart. But yeah, there's just some things that,
You mentioned a name, and before I ask you to repeat it, we have a segment here on this show. It's the Veterans Helping Veterans segment. So every week we highlight a different veterans organization that's out there helping out our warriors. And you just so happen to maybe know one, maybe.
yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, after my suicide attempt, I
Hey, Luis, before
when
you talk about it, we have intro music for it.
I skipped the
okay.
music.
No, throw it in there. Let it give
All
it
right,
full
we'll
treatment.
just for you, Lou. That's right. It's time for Veterans Helping Veterans. That's right. Be the first caller.
My OCD won't allow us to move forward. You know that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, so after July 8th of 2018 and me coming back to my unit, I started speaking up about mental health and suicide prevention and deglamorizing what I call negative coping mechanisms. Because we can use anything as a negative coping mechanism, right? Gambling, overspending, sexing, right? Whatever it is.
Masturbation.
Yeah, masturbation, absolutely right. Um, which I'll admit I fell into that and pornography and all of that stuff. Um, but so we ended up founding No Shame War Foundation, which was built off of Luis Fonseca No Shame, which Luis Fonseca No Shame was when I was on active duty before I founded No Shame War Foundation. And so post retirement, my wife and I are the co-founders of No Shame War Foundation. Our foundation, we do bring awareness. We travel to different units, different commands, different bases that want us to go speak about suicide prevention, mental health, deglamorizing negative mechanisms. I also do a lot of speaking engagements for the Hospital Corps birthday, Navy birthdays, some Marine Corps official stuff like dining ins and whatnot. But we do bring awareness, and we also provide some financial support. As a matter of fact, right now we're raising money to for on April 21st, we're going to donate to the Armed Services YMCA. So, because they do a lot of stuff for military kids, so we want to donate them since April is the month of the military child, and then as well we have some scholarship money for college kids that are getting ready to go into college or are already in college and they're pursuing a career field or an education field in mental health. If you're doing that, then we'll hopefully be able to provide a little bit of money to help with some books or something, right? We don't have much, but we try to give back as much as possible. But our main mission, and I have to give all credit to my wife, Christina, and to my brother, Isaac West. They are the directors for what we call the Rapid Suicide Intervention Task Force. So what the Rapid Suicide Intervention Task Force mission is we've been officially operating that task force now for about 14 months. And what we do is if you're ever on social media and you come across a post that says that's it, I'm done, I no longer want to be here, or someone texts you that, and now you're trying to get a hold of them, but they've maybe turned their cell phone off, destroyed it, they've gone what we call in the military radio silence, right? We ask is take a screenshot of that, and across any social media platform, just look up No Shame Warrior Foundation and send us that screenshot. And that team, which is spearheaded by my wife and Isaac West, through social networking, and this is thousands of other first classes, some chiefs, Marines, people that we don't know. We just ping it out through all social media and like, hey, we are looking for this sailor, and we get as much information as possible in order for us to be able to call local law enforcement and start getting cell phones pinged. And then for people that don't know, yes, our government has a lot of cool, crazy gadgets that y'all don't know about. And yes, we can locate cell phones that have been destroyed. Yes, we can still locate computers that have been destroyed. Even if someone throws them in the toilet and flushes it, we can still find it. But it takes a lot of information because you're really asking for a search warrant at that time is what you're doing. It takes a lot of information for us to be able to execute that. So our first person that we went out to look for, and we consider ourselves very fortunate, as well as for her, she attempted to, I shouldn't have said she, but the person attempted to take their life via medication.
It's okay because she identifies as a he.
Okay.
All right.
They attempted to take their life via meds with pills. And so that process, it was our very first one. It took us 26 hours, I want to say. But because she ended up taking pills, that played on our behalf. From that moment on, we have now been able to locate and find 11 service members and or veterans that were at a critical moment of them wanting to take their life, and we're able to get law enforcement and or first responders before they succumbed to their injuries, those that had already did something to be injured
That's awesome.
That's
and
outstanding, man.
thank you. So yeah, so like I said, that is our main mission. We're still trying to do that every day. Hopefully one day we don't have to. A lot of people do reach out to us for other things, but I kind of send them to other organizations that I vetted out because they handle that, and we're so limited on our resources. I really just want the team to concentrate on that. And like I said, my wife and Zach do such an amazing job. I can't take the credit for it. I just get to do the fun stuff, which is this: talk to wonderful people across the world, talk to sailors, and spread the message. And they really are the ones that put in that hard work for us.
Meet fellow heroes.
Huh?
Just kidding. I say get to meet fellow heroes. No,
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, and so yeah, that's what we do. That's what we've been doing for, like I said, about the last 14 months. We, as of now, have 100% success rate, but we know that one day that won't happen, and when that day unfortunately does come, we'll stop for a second and pause
and leave the show. Well, I'm sure that was not intentional.
Yeah.
However, it's about time to wrap up anyway. What a fantastic interview, man.
Oh man, what a great guy. Hopefully we'll get him back again. I mean, he's pretty good. We could absolutely do another hour with him, dive deeper into the scenario and some other follow-on questions. I really want to hear some of the conversations he had throughout his career afterwards, with some nurse corps officers and stuff.
Me too.
This is how you prepare for war. Really?
Oh, really? Seen much war? Seen a little on TV.
That's right. That's right.
Well, hey, my dad used to tell me. He used to say, "Boy, only faggots and bosuns whistle."
Yeah.
That was
funny. My buddy, my buddy, we were talking about the Master Chief is a gay bosun.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is.
So he really whistles.
He really does. He really does.
You guys.
No, it's all good, my friend. We were just wrapping up talking about how, we want to talk to you some more. Would you come back?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like we barely even touched the surface.
I know, man. I know.
Because I was telling, I was telling Andy when you dropped off. I said, you know what? I want to hear some of the exciting conversations he had afterwards. I want to hear about how people, let me tell you, HM1, how it's done when you're in the shit. And you're like, okay, ma'am.
I've had peers, so fellow HM, so HM2s. I've had leaders tell me the same thing, like, "Hey, this is when we get out there," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, good to go." And it's funny, man. It's like, and I've also had one person tell me how to go about getting my FMF warfare device. Oh, yeah. Already dual warfare quad, FMF with with MLG and the combat element. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take that advice. They saw me like a few weeks later in that season, like, oh shit, you're HM1 fun. It's all good, brother.
Luis, I don't have a Navy Cross, but I used to always wear my top 3, and every now and then I'd throw the rack on because people just needed to be reminded.
I do think like I am a humble person,
Yeah, but you know what? It's a sad dog who doesn't wag its own tail, number one. And number two, I'm not going to be talked to like an idiot.
Yeah, but the reason why I always wore my full stack of ribbons on Fridays in NSUs was because of that. I was like, I don't verbally brag. I'll let my ribbons do the bragging.
Yeah. So I have a very, very funny story. It's funny now, wasn't funny at the time about that. I'll let you in a little secret. I crossed over the dark side. My last 11 years, I was a nurse corps officer. Hated every second of it, every second. So, but my specialty was ER trauma. So I was always in scrubs, right? Well, one day I just so happened to be, I was teaching a course or something, happened to be in uniform, in khakis, and I had my whole stack on. I was in Jeremiah O's office, Lou.
Oh, yeah.
And another, he was a PA, that former dive IDC, great guy, down there BS, and he in walks the new XO. And it was a nurse corps captain black female that if you weren't a female, you weren't in at all, right? I didn't know that.
Which I don't understand why she didn't like you.
Right. But maybe I guess I didn't wear my skirt that day. I guess that's what it was. But she walks up and they introduce us, and she's just mean mugging my ribbons, right? I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, my eyes are up here." That was ended up not being the wisest thing to say. But that's kind of jackass I was.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey brother, listen, man, it was an extreme pleasure having you on.
Same here.
Definitely. And Billy Bruce, show her your 50 cal one. That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want you to come back. I enjoyed our conversation.
It was fun.
But next time let's dive into the real Luis and let's talk
Let's
some
do it.
shit that got us all in trouble, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and like your podcast says, nothing's off the table. I really don't hold anything back.
Well, no one can hold anything over you.
That's right.
No one can hold anything over you. When you're honest and you're up front, when the demons are out front, you can't beat me over the head with nothing.
That's right.
Nothing. Because they don't have power over me anymore. I put it out there. We all know, I like that. I like that philosophy. I like that attitude. I like people who live that way. And that's why I like to talk to people like that. So.
Right on.
Pleasure.
So let's do this again. Hey,
let's do it.
Stick around. I'm gonna take us out, but stick around. We'll talk for a minute or two in the green room, as they say in the business. But
right in the biz.
I don't know what the business is. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. We will catch y'all next week. Bye bye.
I'll read it over there. You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table with Andy and Lou and Admiral Media Productions. All information at the time of broadcast is mostly accurate. Comment below, give 5 stars, and leave a review.